We used advanced AI to reconstruct a debate between Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. One believed in nonviolence as power, the other believed power must be taken seriously, or nothing changes. Our models were trained to simulate their reasoning and speaking style as closely as possible. Before we start, quick format check. 3 rounds, 3 big theses. On each thesis, both speakers give an opening take. Then our selected AI judges score the arguments using a clear set of criteria. After that, we enter the persuasion round. Each speaker gets 3 one-minute turns to defend their position and challenge the other. Then we score again and move to the next round. Now we start with first question. When someone uses violence against you, should you fight back or stick to non-violence no matter what?
Nonviolence is not surrender. It is the refusal to trade your soul for a moment of relief. When violence strikes you, the first question is not, can I hurt back? But what will honor my dignity and move justice forward? If I answer hate with hate, I multiply the darkness. If I answer cruelty with disciplined love, I expose the lie that oppression depends on. Strategically, violence gives injustice its favorite excuse. It turns the victim into the accused and frightens away allies. Organized nonviolence does the opposite. We march, we boycott, we sit down and stay, we take our case to the courts, we vote, we build coalitions across churches, unions, students, and neighbors. We apply steady pressure until conscience and law are forced to meet. There are times the night feels endless, yet a people united in courageous restraint can bring the morning. Hold the line, hold each other, and let our struggle be a light that does not burn, only guides.
Nonviolence is not a religion, it's a tactic. And a tactic only works when both sides agree to play by the same rules. When a man is hitting you, do you keep preaching at his fists? No, you stop him. I'm not talking about hunting anybody down. I'm talking about self-defense. If someone attacks you, you have a right, no, a duty, to defend your life and your dignity. That's not violence. That's intelligence. They tell the Negro, be nonviolent, but the state has dogs, clubs, guns, prisons. That's not peace. That's a one-way street. If nonviolence means you must accept being brutalized, then it's not nonviolence. It's submission. So I say this. Be disciplined. Don't start trouble. But if trouble comes to your door, you don't owe the attacker your neck. Organize your neighborhood, protect your families, build economic power, and make the cost of attacking you too high. That's how a people survives.
I honor the instinct to protect one's life, but dignity is more than survival. It is the refusal to become what we oppose. The enemy is not a man's body, but the injustice that trains his hand and the lie that calls it order. When we answer blows with blows, we step into their script. When we answer with organized courage, we rewrite the scene. Nonviolence is not a handshake with the attacker. It is a spotlight. It does not require the other side's consent. It requires our discipline. It gathers the fearful into a force, the isolated into a people. Marches that fill streets, boycotts that drain profit, sit-ins that halt business, lawsuits that expose unlawful power, voting drives that change who holds the keys. Yes, the state has clubs and prisons, precisely. Violence gives those weapons a mask. Nonviolence strips it, summons witnesses, and builds coalitions until the debt of justice is paid. Let us climb from this valley together, united, unafraid.
Dr. King, you call nonviolence a spotlight. A spotlight doesn't stop a beating. It only shows the bruises after the fact. And while the cameras roll, our people still have to walk home through the same dark streets. You say answering blows with blows makes us become what we oppose. No, self-defense is not hatred. It's boundaries. It's the difference between a burglar and a homeowner. One breaks in, the other refuses to be robbed. Your program depends on witnesses. But what if the witnesses yawn? What if the courts stall? What if the ballot box is blocked? Then your disciplined suffering becomes a permanent job. I'm for organization too, but organization that includes protection, not just protest. Build community patrols within the law, train discipline, secure businesses, pool money, control our neighborhoods. Rights without power are paper. So here's the question. If nonviolence doesn't require consent, Why does it leave the attacker free to strike again?
The first boundary is moral. Every person bears a dignity no club can cancel, and our struggle must not mortgage that dignity to the methods of the oppressor. I do not ask our people to endure harm as a career. I ask them to turn suffering into a lever that moves the world. You say a spotlight does not stop a beating, but organized nonviolence is not a lamp on the wall. It is a furnace of public conscience and lawful pressure. When we sit down and do not leave, when we boycott and keep boycotting, when we file suit and return to court again, when we register, vote, and protect that vote with unity, the attacker is no longer free. He is exposed, isolated, and made costly to those who shelter him. Protection is essential, yet the strongest protection is a community so disciplined and so numerous that injustice cannot rule in silence. Let us leave the long night by walking together, steady and unbroken.
Dr. King, you speak of moral boundaries. Fine, but morality without muscle becomes a sermon to a man holding a badge and a baton. You say nonviolence turns suffering into leverage. Leverage on whom? On the very institutions that profit from our submission. Boycotts, lawsuits, voting, good tools. But tools don't use themselves. They require safe communities. A boycott leader still has to drive home. A voter still has to cross a hostile street. If the state won't protect him, he must have the means to protect himself. That isn't becoming the oppressor, it's refusing to be a victim. Your public conscience is seasonal. Today it's heat. Tomorrow it's a headline, and then it's gone. Power is not moved by pity, it's moved by cost. Make injustice expensive, politically, economically, and on the ground, through unity, discipline, and lawful self-defense. So what do you tell a community when lawful pressure arrives too late and the attack is happening now?
Morality is not a decoration for speeches. It is the measure that judges power. Strength without moral direction becomes another instrument of darkness. I grant that injustice retreats when it must pay a price, yet the highest price is collected when we deny it, both consent and fear. Nonviolence is not waiting for kindness. It is organized force. We train people in discipline. We plan campaigns. We move in numbers. We bring witnesses. We protect the vulnerable by surrounding them with neighbors, clergy, students, and workers. Then we convert unity into boycotts that drain profit, court actions that expose illegal authority, voting drives that change who governs, and coalitions that make silence impossible. And in the urgent moment, our duty is to preserve life and keep the struggle clean, remove people from danger, document the wrong, demand lawful accountability, then return with numbers and a clear demand. Can a strategy that expects escalation truly build a durable peace?
Morality is not a shield that stops a baton. It is a compass. And a compass doesn't keep you alive when the mob is at the door. You call nonviolence organized force. I respect organization, but you organize pressure. I insist on protection. Surrounding people with witnesses may deter some attackers. It does not deter the ones who don't care who's watching because they know the system will excuse them. You say, keep the struggle clean. Clean for whom? For the newspapers, for the courts, for white comfort. Our duty is first to preserve black life, then to pursue justice. That means lawful self-defense alongside your economic program. Secure the neighborhood, train discipline, coordinate radios and patrols. Keep weapons controlled and only for defense, and keep provocation out. Meanwhile, we hit the system where it hurts. Jobs, profits, ballots. Peace without the power to defend it is just a pause between attacks.
Is it better to build one shared country together, or first build a strong separate community for our own people?
A shared country sounds noble, but shared with whom? On whose terms? If the table is owned, the rules are owned. Before you talk about togetherness, you need leverage. I'm not preaching hatred. I'm preaching self-determination. Build strong black institutions, schools that teach truth, businesses that hire our people, clinics that treat our people, banks and co-ops that keep our dollars circulating, local leadership that answers to the community, not to donors. This is not separatism for fantasy. It's building a spine. Integration without power is assimilation into poverty. Unity without control is dependency. When your house is on fire, you don't debate interior decorating. You put out the fire, you secure the roof, you feed the children. After that, you can visit the neighbors as an equal. Respect follows strength. So yes, build with our own people first, so any together we build later is real.
A people without control over their own life cannot share a country on equal terms. The moral point is simple. Dignity means self-determination, land to live on, schools that teach truth, jobs that pay, courts that protect, and leaders we can hold accountable. A shared nation that asks us to enter empty-handed is not unity. It is dependence dressed up as harmony. So build strength where we stand. Build businesses that keep money circulating, organizations that defend our rights in court, voter blocks that can hire and fire politicians, and community institutions that feed, educate, and protect. Then, from a position of balance, you can cooperate with anyone who respects equality. I do not preach separation as hatred. I demand preparation as survival. No begging, no confusion, no self-denial. First, a foundation, then a house we all can enter with our heads up. Discipline, unity, and clear purpose, until the dawn is real.
You talk about a shared nation built on dignity. Fine, but dignity isn't a speech. Dignity is ownership. If we walk into a shared country with no land, no capital, no control of our schools, no protection in the courts, then we are not partners. We are tenants. You say, courts that protect, jobs that pay, leaders accountable. I agree. But those things don't appear because we wish for them. They appear when we organize our own base. Business networks, disciplined voter blocks, independent institutions. So politicians must bargain with us, not manage us. Keep our dollar in our neighborhood and watch respect follow. This is not separate forever. It's separate enough to stand. Integration without power is dilution. Coalition without leverage is charity. So build black strength first, then negotiate togetherness from equality. Otherwise, whose country are we really sharing?
Dignity is indeed ownership, but not ownership of a corner, ownership of citizenship. If we build power only behind a fence, injustice will simply redraw the fence and call it order. Our task is to secure schools, jobs, and courts. Yes, but to do so by bending the whole nation toward truth, not by shrinking our claim upon it. Nonviolence is the lever that turns local strength into national change. We organize boycotts that move markets, sit-ins that interrupt daily lives, marches that awaken the indifferent, lawsuits that force the law to mean what it says, and voting coalitions that replace gatekeepers. This is not charity. It is disciplined pressure, publicly applied, until power must negotiate. Build businesses, build institutions, build pride. Yet do not confuse a strong community with a separate destiny. The dawn comes when we stand together in one country, equal in fact and in law. Will we claim the full house or settle for a room?
You say dignity is citizenship, not a corner. But citizenship without power is paper. The fence isn't the problem, the landlord is. If the house is run by people who can shut off your water, your vote, your job, then claiming the full house is a slogan until you have keys. You warn injustice will redraw the fence. Exactly. So we build strength so the fence can't be moved. Schools we control, businesses we finance, media we speak through, and a disciplined voting bloc that can reward or punish any politician. That is not shrinking our claim, it's securing it. Boycotts and marches can shake the nation, yes, but pressure works best when backed by independence. Markets move when we own stores, not just stop shopping. Courts listen when we can fund lawsuits, not just bleed on camera. Nonviolence is a tool. Use it. Don't confuse a tool with a foundation. How do you bend the nation toward truth if you don't first build the power to make truth cost something?
Power without justice is a master's key. Justice without power is a promise. I do not offer paper citizenship. I demand full membership enforced by organized people. Yet independence that turns inward can become another fence. It may protect a block, while leaving the courthouse and the ballot box untouched. The landlord you name is not a race of men. It is a system of theft and falsehood, and it rules best when communities are sealed off and unheard. Nonviolence is how we build power in the open. We train, we mobilize, we discipline our ranks. We boycott to shift markets, yes, but also to form cooperatives and worker solidarity. We sue, we register voters, we run candidates, we build coalitions that change laws and budgets. That is power that cannot be shoved into silence. If truth must cost something, let it cost the nation's conscience and its profits, together, steadily, until morning comes. Can separation win equal laws for those still outside the fence?
You say the landlord is a system, not men. Fine. Systems don't float in the air. They sit in offices, wear uniforms, sign mortgages, deny loans, swing batons. Call it what you want. It still has hands. And those hands respond to one language, organized consequence. You warn independence can turn into offense, only if it becomes isolation. I'm not preaching silence. I'm preaching a base. A people with no schools of their own, no credit of their own, no businesses of their own, enters every coalition as a beggar. That is not unity, it's dependency. Your open nonviolence can mobilize crowds, yes, but crowds disperse. Institutions remain. Build cooperatives, build banks, build disciplined local power, then boycott, sue, vote, and negotiate from strength, not from suffering. If separation can't win laws, why has togetherness failed to enforce them without us building power first?
Dignity requires power, and power must be guided by justice. I agree. A system has hands, clerks, officers, lenders, legislators. But when we strike at hands alone, the system grows new ones. When we strike at the lie that authorizes those hands, we change the rules that command them. That is why our aim is not a separate corner, but equal standing in the whole house. Institutions matter, yes. So we build them, cooperatives, legal funds, voter leagues, neighborhood unions, and we link them to disciplined nonviolence that can't be ignored. We boycott with strategy, we sit in with training, we march with order, we sue with evidence, we vote in coalitions that rewrite budgets and laws. Suffering is not our currency. Organized citizens are. A fence may feel safe in the long night, but it can also hide injustice from daylight. We need roots in our communities and reach across the nation until morning comes through unity, discipline, and common purpose.
Is it better to build one shared country together, or first build a strong separate community for our own people?
Patriotism that demands silence while the state humiliates you is not love of country. It is loyalty to your own oppression. A man cannot salute his own denial. A people cannot celebrate a house that locks them in the basement and then calls it home. If the government polices you as a suspect, schools your children as second class, and courts you as an afterthought, honest patriotism begins with truth. We are mistreated, and we will not pretend otherwise. The enemy is not people. It is a system that profits from our lowered heads. So we organize. We build strong institutions, defend ourselves in court, register and vote with clear demands, monitor officials, boycott exploiters, and form disciplined coalitions that make injustice expensive. When we insist on dignity, we are not betraying the nation. We are calling it to account. The morning comes when we stand united, clear-eyed, and unbuyable.
Can patriotism be honest under humiliation? Yes, but only if it tells the truth. And the truth is this: a country that beats you, robs you, cages you, then asks you to wave its flag is not asking for love. It's asking for silence. Patriotism is not worship. It's a contract. If the state breaks the contract, you don't clap. You confront. You don't pretend the bruise is a badge of honor. You name it. You expose it. You organize against it. They say, be grateful. Grateful for what? Second-class citizenship. Grateful for schools that fail our children, courts that doubt our word, police that treat us like enemies. That's not patriotism. That's Stockholm. I'm for loyalty, but loyalty to justice, to our people, to our right to stand upright. Respect is earned by protection and equal treatment, not demanded through propaganda. Until America practices what it preaches, the most honest patriot is the one who refuses to lie.
Love of country is not blind applause. It is a faithful insistence that the nation honor the worth of every child within it. When the state humiliates some of its people, honest patriotism must begin with truth, yes, but it must also refuse to let truth harden into contempt. The enemy is the system of injustice and the false story that excuses it, not human beings as such. Nonviolence is the way we confront a broken contract without breaking the moral law ourselves. We do not wave a flag to cover a bruise. We march to end the bruising. We boycott to change profit. We sit in to disturb easy habits. We sue to make courts accountable. We vote in disciplined coalitions to replace those who rule by humiliation. That is patriotism with backbone, demanding that the nation pay its debt to justice. Can a country be healed if we only denounce it and never organize to redeem it?
You call patriotism redeeming the nation, but redemption is the nation's job, not the victim's hobby. When the state humiliates you by design, loving it faithfully can become a leash. Yes, the enemy is a system, but systems wear faces, pass laws, pull triggers, sign verdicts. If you refuse to name the people who operate it, you protect them. That's not moral law, that's moral cover. Not contempt, clarity. Nonviolence may expose hypocrisy. It doesn't stop humiliation by itself. Pressure must be backed by independence, our own institutions, our own economic base, our own political discipline. Boycotts without businesses are temporary. Votes without leverage are decorative. I don't hate America. I refuse to lie about it. Honest patriotism is loyalty to justice, not loyalty to a flag that denies your humanity. So tell me, when redeeming keeps getting delayed, how long must the humiliated wait?
Justice is not a favor to be postponed. It is a debt owed now. And the way we demand payment matters, because means shape the world we are building. To name injustice is not to hate a nation. To refuse vengeance is not to excuse its agents. We can hold officials accountable in courts, at the ballot box, and in the streets, without losing our moral center. You warn that redeeming can become delay. Then let redemption be pressure, not patience. Marches that swell week by week, boycotts tied to clear demands, sit-ins that halt business as usual, lawsuits that drag hidden facts into daylight, voting drives that replace those who sign cruel policies. Independence is vital. Strong schools, strong unions, strong local enterprise, but it must join a public struggle that changes law for everyone. How long must the humiliated wait? Not one more needless season. We press together until the long night breaks, with unity, discipline, and love that acts.
You say means shape the world. True, but so does weakness. A man can keep a moral center and still end up in a grave if the law won't protect him. Courts, ballots, polite pressure, good, but only when the referee isn't on the other team. When prosecutors won't indict, when juries won't convict, accountability becomes a word you recite, not a result. You offer marches, sit-ins, boycotts. I'm for disruption, but disruption without a base is temporary. You halt one lunch counter, the owner opens another. You boycott one store, the money still leaves our block. Build the base. Independent schools, credit unions, disciplined political clubs, businesses we own, security we control. Then protest has teeth, and negotiation has terms. Love that axe? Fine. Let it act like strategy, not like surrender. And if they refuse payment, we raise the price. What do you do when unity is met with a gun?
Love is not softness. It is disciplined commitment to human dignity. Strategy is not swagger. It is choosing the path that wins freedom without poisoning the future. You are right that courts and ballots can be rigged. That is why nonviolence is not polite pressure, but organized power that drags the referee into the light. We document abuse, we file suit, we register voters, we boycott, we sit in and stay, we march with clergy, students, and workers until officials cannot hide. A base matters. Cooperatives, credit unions, schools we control. But a base alone can be fenced off and starved. Nonviolence links the neighborhood to the nation, turning a private wound into public reckoning. And when unity is met with a gun, we do not trade lives for revenge. We protect life by moving people to safety, bringing witnesses, demanding lawful restraint, then returning with more numbers and clearer demands. The night is long, but dawn comes to disciplined, united people.
Love can be disciplined, yes, but discipline without enforcement becomes endurance training for the oppressed. You say nonviolence drags the referee into the light. If the referee is part of the team, light doesn't change the score. It just shows the cheating. You speak of lawsuits, marches, witnesses, fine tools. But a tool is not a shield. When a state systematically humiliates a people, patriotism that keeps pleading for fairness is not honesty. It's attachment to an abuser. A man can love humanity and still refuse to be a doormat. Honest loyalty is to principles, not to a flag. Build the base and defend the base. Credit unions, cooperatives, schools, media, disciplined political blocs, and lawful community protection so elders can sleep and organizers can work. Then your protests have staying power and your demands have consequences. That is how humiliation ends. Not by begging the nation to feel, but by forcing it to change.
Overall, both sides scored strongly, with Malcolm X edging it out. This debate is a simulation. The models respond to a specific prompt, and they're scored using a fixed rubric. The value isn't the numbers, it's the contrast in strategies, and what it reveals about our own thinking. Subscribe for more.